Hi guys, and welcome to the TruGolf Academy. You've joined me, Jon Watts, today at Drayton Park Golf Club. I'm in my swing studio and today's video is all going to be about how best to cope when we're playing into a strong wind. So I've put myself on a par 3 here, a great golf course in Canada, La Tempête. It is, what distance have I got? 137 yards to the flag. There's water short. It's a sort of semi-island green. The water goes all the way around the front and around the back of the green. So if you were going to miss, you have to really miss on the left side. So it's a great par 3, and I just wanted to show you what my thought process is in coping in this wind. So I can, on my GC2 simulator, I can actually put mild wind, no wind, strong wind. So I've got it on strong wind, and it's a 20-mile-an-hour wind, pretty much straight into, it's fractionally off the left side, but it's a wind that's mainly straight into me by 20 miles an hour. So the first thing to talk about is what distance does that really mean it's playing. So 137 is normally a pretty stock 9-iron for me. So I'm going to go ahead and just start by hitting a 9-iron without allowing for the wind, so you guys can see obviously what happens. We're expecting this one coming up in the water or maybe that front right bunker. It's not really right, it's just front bunker. But let's see how far affected this is. So this club normally pitches for me 135, so it's within a 140-yard club. So that felt pretty solid. And it's flown 111 yards. So a club that normally flies 135 has flown 111 yards. So it's really taken off some distance, obviously, there. Now, I have filmed a video on this before, talking about into the wind and downwind and what we should do in the calculations for it. So I'm just going to quickly go on to, I'm just showing you an into wind example here, getting you ready for the winter as it is coming. Unfortunately, weather conditions are going to worsen. You are going to play potentially in higher winds as well. So this is 137. I work off for every 1 mile-an-hour wind into your face, it playing 1% longer. So this is a 20-mile-an-hour wind. It's playing 20% longer. So it's 137 yards, which is coming out to just about, without being really picky, 165 yards. So if you add 20% onto 137, it's about 165 yards, which is a perfect 7-iron carry distance for me. So it is 2 clubs longer. What I see most people do, they're into a wind and they go, oh, it's an extra club. Well, actually, in this case, an extra 2 clubs. Had it been a stronger wind still, it might have been 3 or 4. So really, you've got to start to think about the wind speed. I would encourage you to look at the weather apps and on your course plan, your stroke saver, write the normal wind direction, find out the wind speed of the day and the gust speed as well, and you'll have a pretty good idea of how that's playing out on the golf course. So this 137-yard shot is actually playing 165. So I'm going to go ahead and hit another one with a 7-iron, so 2 clubs longer. The other thing you'll see, I've hit a couple of shots just warming up, is when it's such a strong wind, it really is going to exaggerate any shot shape. So I'm just going to hit this one as normal. I'm not going to try and do anything different, just hitting a stock 7-iron. You can see I've been relatively sensible and aimed a little left of that pin. There's no real room right of it, and the wind is into and slightly off the left. Any movement you put on the ball is going to be exaggerated when you're playing into this level of wind. So let's just hit a standard 7. I don't think I could hit it any better than that. The ball didn't deviate. Perfect. So that flew 135. So it was bang on the what was it, 137 pin. So this, you know, it's 30 yards short of my normal carry distance. I really needed those extra couple of clubs. For a lot of amateur golfers, I've got sort of 12, 15 yards between all my clubs. If you've only got 10 yards between all your clubs, which is quite typical, then you're actually going to need 3 clubs more. So really start to think of this as a percentage. I'll say it again. 1 mile an hour wind into your face, it's playing 1% longer. So 20 mile an hour wind is 20% more. So we've just got to do some relatively simple maths. If we rounded this up to 140, 10% is obviously 14 yards, so it's 28. It's just a fraction less than that. So that's where I was working out on 165, playing, which it is. So it's a perfect 7-iron. Now I hit that great and that ball didn't have any deviation on. In fact, we could have a quick peek at the numbers. So the ball, it started less than a degree right and it had a tiny fraction of draw spin on. You can see the numbers, the figures are about as minimal as they get. 0.7 in to out with the club face 0.9 closed, and it was out the center. So really minimal ball flight. But what I was finding when I was warming up was in such a strong wind, if I was creating any movement, even just a few hundred revolutions of sort of fade spin on there, a little axis tilt to the right, that ball was really moving further and further right. So I want to quickly go on to what you could do to try and lower your ball flight. So I'm going to actually stick with the same club, still the 7-iron, but I'm going to be trying to lower the launch angle and I'm trying to lower the spin rate. So I'm going to lower the launch angle by changing my ball position. So I'm going to move the ball further back in my stance, behind my sternum, making sure my handle position hasn't changed. So my hands are still opposite the inside edge of my lead leg. So my hands are in the same position, it's just the ball's moved back. And that means that my hands are more ahead of the golf club, my sternum is more ahead of the golf club, and I can feel a little bit more pressure onto this lead leg. Now to lower the spin rate, what I'm going to do is simply try and swing it a little softer. So I'm going to lower the launch angle by moving the ball back. It's lowering the loft on the golf club. I'm just going to not try and hit it flat out. I'm going to try and take a little bit of speed off it, almost more like a 3/4. And that's going to give me this lower spin rate as well into the wind. That last shot was spinning back by 5,266 revolutions per minute. So my aim is to launch the ball lower than 18 and lower that backspin rate even more if I can. So I'm just going to do that by keeping the same clubs. So I've taken that extra 2 clubs like we talked about, the 7-iron. I'm moving the ball further back behind my sternum, so we're not tilting back to compensate for it. And my hands are in the same position, slightly ahead of the golf ball. They're nearing my lead thigh. Now, I'm just also going to grip it a little lower down the handle, and I'm just going to feel like I make more of a 3/4 action at it. Let's give it a go. Might cut. Although that's missing green, oh, I think it might have dropped into the water. Let's hit one more of those. It was carrying about the right distance. How much did I cut that? You see again, anything you do is really exaggerated. So the lower we can keep it, the less it's going to be moving offline. So that was, it started right and it just cut that little bit. You know, it wouldn't have been horrendous, but into that wind it's moving a long, long way right. I managed to lower the launch angle. The backspin rate was pretty similar to what I had before. Let's give it one last go, see if I can hit a better punch shot than that one. It's going to be hard to beat that first one I hit. So let's move the ball back in my stance, sternum's forwards, handle forwards, and I'm a little lower down the handle. I'm just going to try and take the speed off it as well. All right, let's give it a go. That felt really good. Might just hang on to the edge of the green. It's about the right distance again, so it flew that 130. It's about pin high. I managed to bring that launch angle down from 18 to 13. My backspin rate actually stayed pretty similar. It wasn't overly high on the first shot they hit at 5,300. Potentially I could lower that even a little bit further still by changing my club and even going a 6-iron instead of a 7, and actually trying to take even more pace off it to try and lower that backspin rate. So I hope that's given you some really good ideas of what to think about when you're into the wind. Quick recap, 1 mile an hour wind into your face, it's playing 1% longer. So 20 mile an hour wind into your face, it's playing 20% longer. So do the maths, work out what club that is for you. If we are into such a strong wind, any movement you put on the ball is going to be exaggerated. So potentially try and lower the launch angle and lower the spin rate. So we could change and take an even longer golf club, but we can also think about our setup position and how our ball position relates to our sternum to lower that ball flight further. Let me know how you get on with that. Do post some comments and questions below. Check us out on all our social media. All the info you need is coming along the bottom of the screen right now. It's a great way to get in touch and find out about online lessons, online coaching, etc. as well. Thanks guys, we'll see you soon.